हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. We are reading from Canto 10, Chapter 56, text 38 to 45. So we'll read the translations and from 38 to 44, and then we'll recite the verse 45. 10.56.30. सत्राजितं समाहूय सभायां राजसन्निधौ प्राप्तिं चाख्याय भगवान् मनिं तस्मै न्यवेदयत्. Translation: Lord Krishna summoned Satyajit to the royal assembly. There, in the presence of King Ugrasena, Krishna announced the recovery of the jewel and then formally presented it to Satyajit. Sachati vridito ratnam grihitvavan mukhastata anutapyamano bhavanan agamatsvena papmana. Hanging his head in great shame, Satyajit took the gem and returned home, all the while feeling remorse for his sinful behavior. Sonudhyayamstadaivagham balavad vigraha kula kadam vrijami atmaraja prasided vachyutak kadam kim krutva sadhu mahyam syan na shaped na vajano yata adirga darshanam kshudram mudam dravina lolupam dasye duhitaram tasmai stri ratnam ratnamevacha upayoyam samichinas tasya shantir na chanyata. Pondering over his grievous offense and wondering about the possibility of conflict with the Lord's mighty devotees, King Satyajit thought, how can I cleanse myself of my contamination? And how may Lord Achyuta become satisfied with me? What can I do to regain my good fortune and avoid being cursed by the populace for being so short-sighted, miserly, foolish, and avaricious? I shall give my daughter, the jewel of all women, to the Lord together with the Shamantaka jewel. That indeed is the only proper way to pacify him. Evam vyavasito buddhya satrajisvasutam shubham manim cha swayam udyamya krishnayopajaharaha. Having thus intelligently made up his mind, King Satyajit personally arranged to present Lord Krishna with his fair daughter and the Shamantaka jewel. Tam satyabhamam bhagavan upayeme yata vidhi bahubiryachitam shila rupaudarya gunanvitam. The Lord married Satyabhama in proper religious fashion, possessed of excellent behavior, along with beauty, broad-mindedness, and all other good qualities. She had been sought by many men. Purport: Srila Sridhar Swami explains that men such as Kritavarma had sought the hand of Satyabhama. Text 45. Bhagavan ahanamanim pratichhamo vayam nrupa tavastam deva bhaktasya vayam cha falabhagina. Bhagavan ahanamanim pratichhamo vayam nrupa tavastam deva bhaktasya vayam cha falabhagina. Bhagavan ahanamanim pratichhamo vayam nrupa tavastam deva bhaktasya vayam cha falabhagina. Mataji? Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, Aha, said, Na, not, Manim, the jewel, Pratichama, desire back, Vayam, we, Drupa, O King, Tava, yours, Astam, let it remain, Deva, of the demigod, the sun god Surya, Bhaktasya, the devotees, Vayam, we, Cha, also, Phala, of its fruits, Bhagina, enjoyers. Translation and purport by disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada disciples Ki Jai. Translation: The Supreme Personality of Godhead told Satyajit, we do not care to take this jewel back, O king. You are the sun god's devotee. So let it stay in your possession. Thus we will also enjoy its benefits. Purport: Satyajit should have worshipped Lord Krishna, the Supreme God. Thus there is certainly a touch of irony in Lord Krishna saying, after all, you are a devotee of the sun god. Furthermore, Krishna had already acquired Satyajit's greatest treasure, the pure and beautiful Satyabhama. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to the 10th canto, 56th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Shamantaka Jewel. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stap Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Prasarede Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatyadeshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvise Namah. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे. वंदे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य नित्यानंद सहोदित गौड़ोदय पुष्पवंत चित्रौ षण्डौ तमोनुतौ. So here we are going through the section of Satyabhama being offered by Satyajit to Lord Krishna. Satyajit had offended Lord Krishna. Later on, he'll get the reaction as well, as we can see as the story continues. But in this particular section, we are seeing that how Satyajit is feeling remorseful and guilty that he had done a mistake, and in order to uh, rectify his mistake, he and also he has a fear because Krishna is very powerful. So he's fearful that if Krishna, the people of Dwarka, Krishna being so powerful, they side with Krishna, and, and Krishna's devotees are also very powerful. And because I have spread such rumors, therefore I'll be an object of their anger. So with that fear also, uh, for both reasons, he has decided to offer Satyabhama, who is sought by many people, including Krutavarma and Akrura and others. So he had decided to offer Satyabhama to Lord Krishna, and he comes. Not only does he offer Satyabhama, but also offers the Shamantaka Jival, which Krishna rejects, considering that, as in this purport, it is being explained that Krishna is considering that anyway, I'm getting Satya, who is a pure devotee, so I don't need the jewel. And also, this Satrajit is a devotee of Sun God, so let him, let it remain with him because he's a devotee of Sun God. Considering these reasons, Krishna had rejected it. So in this way, so now Satyajit has a peculiar behavior when it comes in the next chapter. That because he has a very the Shamantaka Jival is certainly a very valuable thing, but more valuable than that is he has Satyavama. So he would, he would, in order to portray himself as a, in order to increase his influence or whatsoever, he kind of told many people, including Kritavarma and others, that in future I'll offer Satyabhama as in marriage to you, like that. You know, so, so, so Satyajit has this behavior as, and later on we'll come to see in next chapter. So, so these people become angry actually when when Satyabhama is offered to Krishna. And Satyabhama, she is eternal consort of Lord Krishna, so rightfully she belongs to Krishna himself. Of course, different acharyas offer different commentaries. Kritavarma and Akrura, it is said that they became angry because Satrajit actually had distributed false rumors. Not they were wanting Satyabhama because they know well that she is eternal consort of Lord Krishna. So they are also pure devotees in that way, and they do not have any ill feelings towards Krishna. But Satrajit had done this, that he had offered Satyabhama to different people. So this, in these translations, especially, it is being explained that how all the resources, these are very valuable. Yesterday, Gaurang Swanam Prabhu was speaking, how much gold it produces, right? And he gave a calculation about 7 crores per day, and as of today's value, something like that. He made a calculation and he was explaining. So that much about the gold it produces, he was saying. So, so, so that is the power of Shamantaka jewel. So he has so much wealth. He has such an opulence, such an opulence every day. It's not that one day it produces. Whole life you have to depend upon it. Even whole life to depend upon such a big amount is a big amount, big opulence. But still, every day it produces. I don't know where they store it. They need place to store it also. So, so, so much opulence he has, Satrajit, and rightfully it belongs to the emperor. And what to speak of Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So it belongs to Krishna. But Satrajit was not in favor of giving it to Krishna. So uh, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati used to say that everything in this world belongs to Krishna. And therefore he had he, he distributed the philosophy of Yukta Vairagya. Yukta Vairagya was spoken by Rupa and Sanatan long back. But it was not much practiced. It was not much practiced. The practitioners were practicing they were practicing devotional service in a way that to minimize the bodily needs as much as possible, just whatever little required for maintaining the body, and practice devotional service. That was how practitioners were practicing before Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati prominently. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was the first person who uh, who actually not just propounded the philosophy of Yakta Vairagya, but also practiced it in a very, and he explained it that how it can be practiced also. Um, it is said Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati used to have a Rolls Royce. Only two people were having in Bengal at that time. One was the Governor General and another was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. There is too much to hear. It's like something like, one of our sannyasis, he has a private jet, let us say. Because private jet, not many people have nowadays, right? How many people in Bengal have private jet? Probably more people than now at that time, because there were only two people in Bengal at that time who were having Rolls Royce. So, so, so that was the opulence he was having, and how he used to use at that time. He used to have a motor car, so he used to go in a motor car to some village, and it was, at that time there were no motor cars being used in general. So all the villagers, they would come all the way from everywhere, and to see what is a motor car like. So after that, everyone comes. Then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would go and sit on the this front part. What do we call it? Bayonet. We call it. On the front part of the motor car, and then he would start preaching to everyone who would come around him. So that was how he used to do. So yeah. So one devotee, one devotee, what one motor car, one devotee, one of the sannyasis of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. There was income tax chief of Bengal at that time. So he took the car of income tax chief. You know, he somehow convinced him whatever. It was written income tax commissioner, whatever income tax something on the front part of the car, and he took that car, and in that car he would go into the different businessmen's home, and he would say, give donation to Krishna. You should give donation to Krishna. So they know, they see the car, they understand, I should give donation, otherwise where I will end up. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was not very happy with it, but I'm just saying. So, so, so basically, he had disseminated the philosophy of Yukta Vairagya to such an extent. He would go. Sometimes he would dress in even shirt, coat, and pant in order to meet this Governor General and all of them. One time, one Governor General had come to Mayapur. So then he made an elaborate arrangement, and even he engaged one five-star hotel of Calcutta to arrange him for his food and all that. So in this way, so we may not imitate these acharyas for sure, and he would regularly quote one verse. Whenever the topic of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, topic of Yukta Vairagya would come, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would quote one particular verse. It is 11.20.78 from Bhagavatam. So he would quote these verses, 11:27 and 8. So he would say, Nirvinnam Jnana Yogo Nyasinamiha Karmasu Teshva Nirvinna Chittanam Karma Yogista Kaminam Yadruchaya Matkadadau Jata Shraddastu Ya Puman Nirvinno Nati Sakto Bhakti Yogosya Siddhida. Among these three paths, Jnana Yoga, the path of philosophical speculation, is recommended for those who are disgusted with material life and are thus detached from ordinary fruitive activities. Those who are not disgusted with material life, having many desires yet to fulfill, should seek perfection through the path of Karma Yoga. If somehow or other, by good fortune, one develops faith in hearing and chanting my glories, such a person, being neither disgusted with nor very much attached to material life, should achieve perfection through the path of loving devotion to me. So he would say this Jnana Yoga is one extreme and Karma Yoga is another extreme. Madhurya Kadambini Bhakti Krishna Chakravarti Thakur speaks about it also. He says that uh, a person in the practitioner who is at the stage of Anadya Nivritti, more specifically at the stage of Vishaya Sangraha, so he is doubtful always. So he is like a pendulum, bhog tyag. Sometimes he thinks that, oh, I have to do. He's a devotee also, so his bhog tyag is also mixed with devotion. Mm. So he would think sometimes, because he's confused. So sometimes he would think dualities. Dualities means good, bad, right, wrong. Renunciation, fruitive activity. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Bhagavatam speaks about this in this particular verses. So devotee also he thinks that, oh, I should engage, I should I should accept all sense gratification because ultimately everything is meant for offering to Krishna. And another time he thinks that everything has to be, all material objects have to be given and one should become completely pure. So therefore I should give up everything. So in this way, pendulum, bhog tyag. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says that one time a devotee thinks that, I should, I should, you know, uh, one time he thinks that I should give up everything, I should give up family life and go to Vrindavan and do 64, 192 rounds every day, bhajan, like Haridas Thakur has done. We should have great examples like Haridas Thakur, Rup and Sanatan and all of them. So in this way he thinks at one point of time. So next moment he thinks that everything is meant for Krishna service only. So let me, now I'm having a simple job or something like that, and so now let me give up my job and I'll start a business, and and I'll take a loan or take this one, that one, and acquire a lot of money, become a billionaire, and in this way engage all lot of billions of rupees in Krishna service. So like that, so extremes. So this is so bhog tyag philosophy. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says that similarly, karmis, they say that everything is meant for my enjoyment. Gyanis, they say that nothing is meant for my enjoyment. But bhaktas, they are in middle. They don't go to extremes. So, and he quotes these verses in order to explain Yukta Vairagya, that how one should not go to extremes, but one should take a middle path by which one can practice Krishna consciousness and engage objects in Krishna service according to one's capacity. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati speaks that he gives example of when there would be elaborate festivals in Gaudiya Math. In Gaudiya Math, there would be elaborate festivals. So sometimes people would criticize. Uh, uh, Gaudiya Math would have horses, very hefty horses, very strong horses and very hefty horses. So some people would say probably these horses are fed malpua every day. There is a rumor, every day they are fed malpua. So like that, there would be rumor because they are so hefty. Otherwise, how they can be so hefty? So, so they would have elaborate festivals. So sometimes people would criticize that this is not according to the Rupa Goswami's principle that one should not have too much elaborate festivals. There is one Bhaktara Samra Sindhu, one of the principles of devotional service is not too much elaborate festivals. Festivals. So this is against this uh, principle of devotional service, like that they would say. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would not agree. He would say when Rupa Goswami says about too much elaborate festivals or too many disciples or too many constructing big temples, he is speaking as per one's capacity. Someone may have capacity to eat little, or someone may have capacity to accept little, engage little amount of resources in Krishna service, and someone may have a great ability to offer resources in Krishna service. So it depends on one's capacity. And he would say that what resources which can be very easily offered by someone who is a neophyte in Krishna service, and someone who is a more advanced devotee or someone who has a greater capacity can offer a lot more resources in Krishna service. So if something which can be offered very easily in Krishna service, then it is not against the principle of Prabhupada ki jai. So if one can offer resources very easily according to one's capacity in Krishna service, then it is not against this principle of which is espoused by Rupa Goswami. Like that he would say. So basically he would basically the concept is according to one's capacity one should offer resources in Krishna service, not beyond one's capacity. And that varies from person to person depending upon both their spiritual and material qualifications. So in this way, so Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, so he very much spoke about this concept of Yukta Vairagya, and he would also say, when he used to speak about the capacity, he would say that a poor man can offer little things in Krishna service. A rich man can offer very easily, without any much difficulty, can offer a lot more in Krishna service. So it depends on one's capacity. So similarly, I would say that this Rupa Goswami's principle of offering festivals is according to one's capacity, like that, I would say. So, uh, so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, in this way, he would speak about Yukta Vairaga, how that is a middle path and that is not going to one's extreme. Neither bhog or tyag philosophy, neither it is karma yogis, karmis who would want to accept everything for one's own enjoyment, or neither one should renounce, one renounces everything for the sake of becoming renounced. Gyanis, they become renounce everything, but it is a middle path, like that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would say. And so this is the concept of Yukta Vairagya, wherein one offers one's uh, one's resources in Krishna service, one's own whatever one has at one's disposal in Krishna service. So even so there, but Narottam Das Tagore, he also speaks about it. He speaks, he goes to a greater extreme. He says that one's own anarthas also one can offer in Krishna service. Kama, uh, Kama, Krishna Karmarpane. So like that, all the six anarthas he speaks about, how they can be offered in Krishna service. Of course, one has to be very careful when offering all these different things in Krishna service, because and it has to be done under expert guidance. Prabhupada writes in one of the purports, he speaks about in Ajamila's section. He says that how this particular section, he speaks about how one's past impressions, how they can be used for advancing in devotional service, like that he says. So he writes a very interesting thing. 6.2. Yeah, 6.2.34. So, purport Prabhupada writes, those engaged in broadcasting the holy name of Narayana, Krishna, those the Krishna consciousness movement, should always consider what our position was before we came and what it is now. So here, Prabhupada very clearly, from this section of Ajamil, he says that one should always consider what our position was before we came and what it is now. And then he goes on to explain how it is. We had fallen into abominable lives as meat eaters, drunkards, and women hunters who performed all kinds of sinful activities. But now we have been given the opportunity to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore, we should always appreciate this opportunity. By the grace of the Lord, we are opening many branches, and we should use this good fortune to chant the holy names of the Lord and serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. We must be conscious of the difference between our present and past conditions and should always be very careful not to fall from the most exalted life. So, in this purport, and many similar purports also later on they come in this particular section, where Prabhupada says that one should consider one's past life, but however, one should not dwell upon it. Recently, we were attending Holy Name retreat by Burijan Prabhu. He was saying that. So I was asking him this question, because he was giving this example. Prabhupada gives this example that one comes to devotional service, then one continues, and he is not much bothered. He is just continuing on next enthusiastically. But at one point of time, some point of time, one switches on the light. When one switches on the light, then one can see what all that is there within the heart. Then one becomes very alert. So then I asked, I was asking Prabhu that, when one becomes very alert, the contamination which is there, that is very depressing, or it could be contaminating. So he said, a sadhaka does not dwell upon it; he only touches it. Prabhupada says that. Prabhupada gives this example of switching on the light. So sadhaka does not dwell upon it; he only touches it. If he dwells upon it, then there's a danger of becoming contaminated, or there's a danger of becoming depressed. So therefore, a sadhaka has to be intelligent enough to how to handle it. Of course, that intelligence comes from Guru Sadhu Shastra. So as a sadhaka has to be intelligent enough as to how to handle his contamination which is there within the heart. Also, this example is also given in, this analogy is also given uh, in the pastime of this Samudra Manthan Leela, wherein when once one starts chanting holy names of the Lord, then initially halahal comes out. The analogy is given to Samudra Manthan that when one churns the heart, one churns the milk ocean, initially halahal comes out. Later on, amrita comes out. Nectar comes later on. But initially, when halahal comes out, it becomes difficult to digest it. That requires intelligence how to digest it. So one so one generally when devotees uh, go through devotional service, then they tend to go to extremes. Bhoktyag, as we are saying, dualities. One extreme is to is and if these impressions or emotions are improperly handled, if these emotions are improperly handled, one extreme is to become depressed. One extreme is guilt. Of course, guilt, if it is healthy, like Ajamila's section, which we are saying, the guilt is healthy, and therefore he decides to go to Haridwar and take association of devotees. But big guilt, if it is unhealthy, if it is improperly handled, it turns to shame, and shame turns to inferiority complex, and it may lead to depression also. Sometimes we see, and this happens many times in sadhaka's life also. We see that sometimes grihasthas, they think that during Prabhupada's time, especially, it so happened that grihasthas, they were thinking that, and they were taking Prabhupada, some of the references of Prabhupada, and they were saying that, that one husband can have many wives. So this is accepted by Shastras. So like that, they would say, and they would accept more wives also, more than one wife also. So like that. So, and brahmacharis may say that anyway, Kali Yuga is not meant for sannyasis and brahmacharis. It is explained in Shastras like that. Lord Chaitanya, uh, he says, Lord Chaitanya says it. Yeah. Anyway, it is explained in Shastras that Kali Yuga, some of the things which are forbidden in Shastras, one of the things is taking sannyas in Kali Yuga. So therefore, one cannot take sannyas, or one cannot be a renunciate. So it's very difficult. And Kala Sudra Sambhava, everyone is Sudra, so it's very difficult. So therefore, one cannot be a renunciate. One better accept the path of household life. Like that, one may think. So in this way, so if these emotions are improperly handled, that can lead to uh, that can lead to uh, an unhealthy guilt, or it could, even if it becomes worse, it could lead to inferiority complex. If it becomes more worse, it could lead to depression as well. So on the other hand, the other extreme is, Krishna is very merciful upon me. That is a very positive feeling. Just like, we were speaking of healthy guilt. Azamila had a healthy guilt. He's considered what his difficulties are, and he considered them, and then he came up with a devotional solution as to how to go to Haridwar and take association of devotees like that. So that is a healthy way of dealing with emotions. So another extreme is, we think that Krishna is very, irrespective of whatever problems we have, uh, Krishna is very merciful upon me, and we need not be bothered about our conditionings only. We switch on the light, we see all the problems, then we switch off the light again. Anyway, Krishna is very merciful upon me. you know so Krishna is merciful, there is no doubt. But if it is improperly handled, then we may think that Krishna is very merciful upon me, therefore I am a very great devotee. And that leads to overconfidence, that leads to false pride, and that may eventually lead to offenses against devotees. So in this way, what starts as a duality, what starts as going to extreme, could lead to offenses against devotees, or it could lead to, yeah, either way, it could lead to offenses against devotees, or it could lead to depression or whatever. so so these emotions have to be properly handled, and the principle, however, is yukta vairagya only. The principle, however, is yukta vairagya only, as to how to offer these different emotions or different resources which we have in our disposal, they may be very little. But still they have to how they have to be handled properly so that they can be offered in Krishna's service. So that is explained here. So we particularly quoted this section from Ajamila because Ajamila very clearly tells, Ajamila section, it is very clearly explained, and it is very relevant to us in the sense that we also have not come from a very good background, and we are trying to practice devotional service, and we have our conditionings, and they keep coming up, and and we keep seeing them. So there's a tendency to neglect them totally, or there's a tendency to overly become occupied by them. So either if they are properly handled, that's nice. If they are improperly handled, then either could lead to a could become an obstacle in devotional service. So in this way, so yeah, so yeah, so devotional service is about offering different resources. As we were saying, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he very clearly says that how devotional service is not about going to extremes. It's about taking the middle path and offering whatever is at our disposal within our capacity under guidance, to Krishna, in Krishna service. If we try to engage beyond our capacity, then especially if it is not under the direction, then there's a sure chance that will be caught up by Maya. There's a great risk. So that has to be very carefully handled and very carefully engaged in Krishna service. Hare Krishna. We have quite some time. If someone has some questions or some comments, we'll take it. Other verses? Which verses? I didn't get it. I read those verses. I'll read it again. 38. Lord Krishna summoned Satyajit to the royal assembly. There, in the presence of King Ugrasen, Krishna announced the recovery of the jewel and then formally presented it to Satyajit. Hanging his head in great shame, Satyajit took the gem and returned home, all the while feeling remorse for his sinful behavior. Pondering over his grievous offense and worried about the possibility of conflict with the Lord's mighty devotees, King Satyajit thought, how can I cleanse myself of my contamination, and how may Lord Achyuta become satisfied with me? What can I do to regain my good fortune and avoid being cursed by the populace for being so short-sighted, miserly, foolish, and avaricious? I shall give my daughters the jewel of all women to the Lord, together with the Shamantaka jewel. That indeed is the only proper way to pacify him. Having thus intelligently made up his mind, King Satyajit personally arranged to present Lord Krishna with his fair daughter and Shamantaka jewel. The Lord married Satyabhama in proper religious fashion, possessed of excellent behavior, along with beauty, broad-mindedness, and all other good qualities. She had been sought by many men. The king, today's verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead told Satyajit, we do not care to take this jewel back, O king. You are the sun god's devotee, so let it stay in your possession. Thus we will also enjoy its benefits. Anything else? Yes.
He wanted to take away jewel by force, so he has murdered the Sena and all. But later on, like he's in these verses, he's kind of repenting and trying to correct himself. And Lord Krishna is knower of past, present, and future. He knew that, like in the upcoming chapter, that he is going to be killed. But having
You know that
upcoming chapter, uh, Krishna knows that he is going to be killed because of possessing Shamantaka money. And Satyajit is also becoming favorably disposed towards Krishna. So my doubt was, why didn't Krishna try to protect him by taking away the jewel and let it be with Satyajit?
The one thing is Satyajit had committed an offense and he gets the reaction of the offense by becoming killed. So that Acharya say that how he got the reaction for his offense by becoming killed. That is one thing. And Satrajit, as in this purport is being said, that he is a devotee of sun god. So he actually, yeah, he has both emotions. One emotion is, yeah, I did a mistake. At the same time, he also has an emotion, as being rightly uh, in this purport. Yeah, in the 42nd verse, it is said, pondering over his grievous offense and also worried about the possibility of the conflict with the Lord's mighty devotees. So he is also a freer. So for both reasons, he has offered it to uh, offered Shamantaka and Satyabhama to Lord Krishna. So so in that sense, his offering of the Shamantaka is not very pure, and it is being explained in this purport as well. Satrajit should have worshipped Lord Krishna, the Supreme God. Thus, there is certainly a touch of irony in Lord Krishna saying, "After all, you are a devotee of the Sun God." So, and Krishna is happy with Satyabhama, so he's not worried about some Shamantaka. So, so therefore, he accepted only Satyabhama because his devotion is not very pure, and yeah, and Shamantaka remained with him.
Also, I heard somewhere that Satrajit was hesitant to give the Shamantaka money, although he was giving it. So,
Yeah,
so is
yeah,
it true?
yes.
Like,
That, yeah, I, it, I meant to say, it is. I can't exactly say if it is true because I did not probably I did not hear it, but it is being evident from these purports. That's what I can say. It's being evident from these purports.
one thing you are explaining of how to handle this guilt, but we see many acharyas pray out of their humility. So can you explain a little bit on the sentiment of humility? What is the correct sentiment of humility? How they have handled their shortcomings correctly, and the grace of the Lord, so that the disposition is quite apt to humble disposition.
Yeah. So first thing is that we can't imitate the acharyas, but the acharyas, as we theoretically at least we can understand that they understand their own anadas. I mean to say, at least whatever little, if at all, it is there, and they consider it to be very big. And at the same time, more bigger than that, they know that Krishna is very merciful. Mm. Bhakti Charu Maharaj, one time he was asked, "What is this concept of humility?" He said that he asked, he told one devotee when he was asked, Rajsham Prabhu, when he was asking, he said, "You draw a small line." He drew some line, and then he said, how does this become small? And then he drew a big line beside that. The line itself may be big in itself, but when we draw a big line beside it, then it becomes very very small. So Krishna's mercy is very powerful. So for that, one has to have that Krishna consciousness also. That Krishna's mercy is very powerful. And then, so in this way, acharyas can, they express their humility because they are so Krishna conscious, that how Krishna's mercy is so powerful. So therefore, we were saying that what could start as a healthy thing, that Krishna is very merciful upon me, that's quite healthy, despite my conditionings. But if it is improperly handled, one may think that Krishna is very merciful upon me, therefore I am a great devotee, and that could lead to false pride. And Maya is so subtle. Prabhupada, he says, just like Krishna is very subtle, he enters like a needle and becomes like a plow. Maya is also very subtle. It enters like a needle and it becomes like a plow. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.